Welcome to Bophelong, your weekly show about ordinary South Africans who face what to some may seem insurmountable challenges, but through perseverance, incredible strength and faith, they overcome them. My name is Rifio Milwa, and our aim on the Bophelong show is to inspire you weekly with the stories that we share. This week, we meet a woman who is proud to stand up and tell her story as a survivor. Let's now meet Stephanie Plakis and hear about the life lessons she was forced to learn at an early age.
I was gang raped at the age of 16. My drink was doped by a group of guys that I always used to party with. Known to me, they were not strangers at all. And that was kind of very hurtful. It was heartbreaking. It was painful.
Growing up in the Eastern Cape, Stephanie Plakis had her teenage years only in her control.
My life as a teenager, I was a very rebellious teenager. I recall, I was doing my own thing on my own path, and I was thinking that I owned my life.
Thinking and convinced that no one can stop her from living her life the way she wanted to, Stephanie was disrespecting her parents while living under that illusion.
I was rebellious, and I was doing my own thing. I went against their rules. I was a disobedient teenager. I would tell my parents off and just want to be about my party life, my friends, and doing what my friends would want me to do. And was involved in we were a gang at that time, like a group of girls, and having fun, partying. I mean, there was no party that we were not present at, and to a point that we were actually labeled the always present girls.
This then led to her experimenting on different things in her early teens.
Being, drinking and smoking at a young age. My dad was smoking, my mom was a casual smoker and that, and I used to puff their little small cigarettes and puff them, and little did I know I was actually getting addicted to it, and my friends were also smoking, and I became a full-time smoker at the age of 13.
With her turning out wild right in front of her family, Stephanie gained a reputation of being the party girl around her community.
I was rebellious, and my sisters never really prepared me for life. I was just saying, I'm going to be on my own tip. I'm going to go on my own trip here, and I'm doing my own thing with my friends and my peers, and you guys just leave me alone. And I'll do my thing, come back, maybe I will go away for a weekend, come back the Monday morning, my parents would be upset. I would get a scolding, I'll get a beating, a hiding, and all that, and that didn't even faze me. I was going to do it again.
Not listening to anyone about just how dangerous it was going out at night as a girl, Stephanie was awakened by a traumatizing gang rape experience.
I couldn't get it over my mind that guys that I thought were my friends, guys that I thought they've got my back, who do that to me. They literally doped my drink. They put some drugs in my drink.
Seeing the gang's faces did not stop them from continuing with the horrific act.
I was quite alert, quite aware of my surroundings, who was around me and all of that. But I could not get up, I couldn't move, I was just a vegetable, all my limbs were just weak. And I can just remember asking them, please don't do this, guys, don't do this to me, guys. And they started to take off my clothes, and they did what they did. Lined up, I think there were about seven or eight guys at a time.
Left alone and no one to explain the horrific event, Stephanie knew it would be hard convincing her parents of what had happened.
I woke up the next morning, I was in one of the guys' room, and I had to find my way home. And there was no one around me, my clothes was just dropped next to me. I had to put on my clothes and find my way home. And when I got home, the only thing, I was still dazed and that, and the only thing I wanted was to just put my head on a pillow and just cry. And got home, my mom was yelling at me, my dad was yelling at me, they thought I was drunk and all that, and my mom was like to my dad, look at her, she's coming in drunk at the house, she hasn't slept at home again, she's only coming in this time. I'm like, they have got no clue what just happened to me.
She thought of resolving her pain by attempting suicide.
I just decided I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to live anymore. I want to take my life. I took an overdose of my grandmother's tablets, and I remember going to school on that Monday morning, and I actually took it the night before I went to school, the Sunday, and the Monday morning I realized I'm awake. I didn't want to wake up, and I realized I'm awake. I'm like, oh my God, I'm awake. I went and took another bunch, and I took it to school. And went to the bathroom at school and took the whole bunch, and my friend saw me taking the whole bunch. She's like, Stephanie, what are you doing? I'm like, you don't understand and you don't want to know, you haven't seen anything. The next thing I knew, I was just dozing off, and I blacked out in his office, and she told them I took a whole lot of bunch of tablets, and they called the ambulance and rushed me to hospital. They tried to arrange an appointment for me with the psychologist, and I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't tell anyone what had happened to me. Even the psychologist, she couldn't penetrate. She couldn't get anything out of me. And that didn't work. I felt miserable. I just wanted to die. I didn't know at that time what my purpose was. All I knew was to party. All I knew was to please people, please my friends, please boyfriends at the time, and just have fun.
After the break, Stephanie tells us about the next phase of her life. It, of course, wasn't easy, but from it, too, she has learned the tough lessons she needed to learn. Stay with us. This is Bophelong.
Your World makes it its business every evening to round up the leading local stories and international news to keep you informed all the time.
Make a date with Your World every evening for all the news headlines around the world to keep you abreast with knowledge.
Catch Your World for headlines across the world every Monday to Friday from 9 p.m, then Saturday and Sunday from 7 p.m.
Engulfed in crises. That's how the United Front sees South Africa.
This South Africa is not one of our dreams. It is not the country we deserve and demand. This South Africa is not meeting the needs of its young people.
Our President Jacob Zuma said Eskom's woes are a challenge but not a crisis.
We have a plan to deal with the matter, and it's a good plan. When we can say we have a crisis, now we have a challenge and we've got a solution.
That's business news, weekdays at 6 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back to Bophelong. If you can relate to Stephanie's story or know of anyone in your family or community who has managed to turn their lives around despite their circumstances, please let us know. Email us on our address. It's bophelong@sabc.co.za. What for many is a time filled with the bursting promise of a life of many happily ever afters, for Stephanie was the complete opposite. Let's hear more from her.
Stephanie moved to Johannesburg in 1998 after graduation to seek employment and start afresh. Being a single parent with a 5-year-old daughter, Kayla, Stephanie thought she would find her fairy tale ending in the City of Lights. She later met her ex-husband, and this is what transpired.
I got married in 2007, and that lasted only for 2 years. It was painful. It was a painful experience to be married for 2 years and not to really enjoy marriage for what it's supposed to be, like simply because of the wrong foundation the whole relationship was based on. And at the time I thought, okay, fine, this is my time, because I had so many marriage proposals at the time.
Regardless of being spoiled for choice, Stephanie only found misery in the marriage she chose.
The person I've met did not put out his cards plain and clear and with honesty and truth to me. The morning, the second morning, at about 6 a.m., message comes through his phone. Your son is born. Would you like to name him? I was hardly 24 hours married. Hardly 24 hours being Mrs. And that happened. And he covered it up, said, no, I don't know this message, where it could come from and all of that. Somebody wants to bless us already with a child before we've even started and all that. And he just dismissed the message. I thought, okay, fine, no, I'm on my honeymoon right now. Maybe really it's a mistake. They sent that message to the wrong person. And a couple of days after that, little did I know that this was actually true.
The appalling news didn't scare her out of her marriage.
Marriage is a covenant, not a contract that you can get in and out of. And I immediately said to him, you know what? I forgive you for this mishap. And I have vowed to you that I'll stick with you no matter what. And I'm about to do that. I am not backing off. I want to know what's happening with the child. We need to go and do the paternity tests if you're not sure. And I'm willing to stand by you. If it's your child, we will maintain and support the child.
As a single mother herself, Stephanie felt it was only right to help the other woman and facilitate with the newborn baby.
I remember the one that was like a year later. I remember having, she sent another message through. I think I was on my way to church that morning, and she sent another message through, and he showed me the message, and it was like, I don't know how you can continue with your life. You claim you're a Christian, and I don't know how you continue with your Christian life when you have a child that you don't even maintain outside. How do you live with yourself? How do you eat? How do you drink and sleep at night, and you call yourself a Christian? That pierced my heart. That pierced my heart as a woman. And I said to him, we've got to settle this matter. We've got to settle this matter. We cannot have our own child here in this family without you having to settle your matter.
This then led to arguments Stephanie couldn't even handle.
I've gone through lots of verbal abuse because of that as well. Like, I'm not taking his side, and I'm just an unsubmissive woman, wife, and all that. And I've gone through physical abuse. I've gone through financial abuse. I've gone through spiritual abuse, every abuse you can think of, financial abuse. I mean, he would go into my bank account, take whatever is there and transfer it into his account and leave me without money and say it's his money.
Although Stephanie's husband was only 6 years younger, he brought out the side of him that Stephanie could not recognize.
He would be physical with me, try to break my hands and my fingers. I remember I had to go through to an occupational therapist for almost a year because he had torn my ligaments in my hands. I still have these two fingers that they do work, but now and then I do feel pain in them.
This was now routine in Stephanie's dream marriage, but sticking to her vows, she remained standing in the midst of all the mayhem.
Never ever opened a case of abuse or anything like that. And funny enough, he didn't even realize all these things. And what he would do, everything that he would do to me and say to me, I was called every kind of ugly name out there. Hey, I'm this witch, I'm a whore, I'm all of these funny things out there. And I didn't believe what was going on in my life.
At this stage, her husband had a hook on her that made her believe she couldn't live without him or even start afresh.
It was abuse on every level, if you like. He would sometimes say, you're not a woman of God. Look at you. You're not a woman of God. You think you're a woman of God. You would push the Bible at me. Go read the Word of God. Go read the Word of God. You are not a submissive wife. And I'm like, God, what else did I do? You know. And at times, if I wouldn't respond to his shouting and his intimidation, I would just keep quiet. You know, I wouldn't respond in that. And even that was a problem. You know, I would like be amazed. I'm like, if I respond verbally, talking to him, I'm an unsubmissive wife. I'm rebellious. I am this, noisy, shouting wife or whatever you may call it. And I stopped the fighting long time. I'm like, okay, let me try another angle. We're not going to have a heated fellowship here in the house. Let me just keep quiet and not respond. And it would also be a problem. I would be like taken, by force. And I'm talking to you. Respond to me. And I'm like, what else do I do when I keep quiet? It's a problem. When I talk, it's a problem. So I was like in a different. I was totally confused. I was like, Lord, what am I into here? What kind of marriage am I into here? When am I going to enjoy marriage?
Being pushed around, tossed around, and being called names, Stephanie could not stand any longer.
I would be pushed to the ground. The one morning he had pushed me so hard I fell on the tiles in the kitchen where we lived. And as I got up, I felt I couldn't move my leg. All this abuse had led me to a state of depression. I had to literally go see a clinical psychologist.
Stephanie tried almost every trick in the book to regain her happy ending.
The one time I had to jump from the flat was on the first floor where we lived. I had to jump off from the first floor, running away from him. I was running in the streets of Florida CBD in the midnight hour, looking for help, like a crazy woman. The final fight was when I had all the STIs, and I used to have all these problems with him, and I was asking my doctor, but why are we here every time? I'm married, for crying out loud. How do I have sexual transmitted infections every time? It would be like 3 months, then it starts again, and we would be in treatment. 3 months, and it starts again, and we're in treatment. And I was like, no, doc, where does this come from? I don't even sit on bathroom seat, the seat and all of that at work or anywhere. I don't use public toilets even. Where do I get these infections from? And little did I know that my ex-husband was very busy to a point that my gynecologist said, no, we need to actually book you in because you cannot have all these STIs, in so many reoccurring every time in a short space of time. We need to find out we need to get to the root of the problem. And they booked me in for three days at the Brenters Clinic. And the night before I was supposed to go to clinic, we had a huge argument, and I just asked him to please leave because I need to go sort this out. I don't know what's happening. Can you just please go? I just need to be alone and all that. And I've asked him to leave. I literally had to chase him away from the house to say, no, I can't do this anymore.
The health scare made Stephanie realize that her life was more important than a title of being married. These are some of the messages from Stephanie's friends that have been inspired by her story and were scared to come out of their own relationship ordeals. As most single mothers would relate, Stephanie is now a pillar to many that are going through similar abusive marriages or relationships. As we just spent Mother's Day, she is definitely now a happy single mother.
In the words of Carl Jung, I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. This was definitely not the end for this incredibly strong woman, though. Don't go anywhere, we're back after this short break to hear more about the life of Stephanie Plakkies. Hello again, welcome to the last stretch of the show. Today we met gang rape survivor Stephanie Plakis, who has gone through some incredible ordeals in her life. A mother and also now a grandmother, if you may believe. She was also an astute businesswoman and a pastor who spreads hope, faith and love, much in the same way that we hope her story is doing for you.
I was breaking myself.
Stephanie, currently 41 years of age, with one daughter and a grandson, has lived to learn that every experience comes with beautiful lessons to share with others. She graduated with Rhema Bible School and has since found her true calling after an abusive marriage.
It was my training ground, I believe. God really training me into my purpose, training me to become His mouthpiece, His battle axe at this time, His vessel of honor. And as He was working in me and through me, He gave me the boldness to eventually speak about my ordeals and eventually speak about my bad experiences. And I said, Lord, at your call, you will tell me when the right time, when the suitable time is to let my family know, because He said to me, I'm going to take you to platforms where you're going to use all these bad experiences, everything that has ever happened to you in your past. You're going to testify about my goodness. You're going to testify how I've healed you, how I've restored you and delivered you from the bad experiences and from the wounds of the past and the hurts of the past. And I was like, okay, God, if you say this, I'm ready. I'm ready to tell the whole world right now.
This then liberated Stephanie to start by telling her family of all her ordeals.
That Christmas in 2004, everybody went home and we were just, we had Christmas lunch, we had a good service and cleaning up and all that. And the Holy Spirit said to me, this is the right time. And I went to call everyone where they were relaxing, called them into the lounge. And I started to speak to them. Can I tell you, there was revival in my family that afternoon. 25th of December 2004, revival broke out in my house. I told them everything, every hidden secret, everything that I've done while I was their daughter. My dad and my mother could not believe it, that everything that happened while I was under their care. They couldn't believe it. I went out with drug lords. I went out with people who were thugs. I went out with a guy who was in and out of prison, pushing weed, dacha, pushing drugs. Do you understand what I'm saying? I was hectic.
Now forgiven by her family, everything else has opened up for Stephanie as she has started her own business, Elgamo Holdings.
I've always wanted to start my own business, I always had the vision to start my own business and also helping others and empowering others. And 2010 I registered my business and I started off with events and corporate gifts and I started building up my client base and today I've actually branched into different businesses. I've started as well in construction. I'm doing general building and civil engineering. As a start, I'm going into different, I'm going to branch into different aspects as well in the construction, into property development, etc.
Stephanie now focuses all her energy on branching out on more and other business spaces.
This year I've also embarked on funeral services. It's called Elgamo Funeral Services and Power Women Recruitment. It's a recruitment agency where we empower women, we place professional women into great jobs and we're creating equal opportunities for women as well in their careers.
We also met up with Mutusi Masemula, one of her neighbors and business partners, and this is what he learned from Stephanie.
I met Stephanie as my neighbor. I'm in Randburg, and I want to call her a spiritual doctor. She's a person that we've spoken through, had dinner with, lunch with. From what I can tell you about Stephanie is that she's a strong woman, courageous woman, strong-willed, strong character as well, very loud and happy. She's actually dynamite when she actually preaches, and she's a woman of substance, what we'll call when you're celebrating women, Musadi Wakonokon.
Mutusi also explained to us as to why he believes Stephanie was a woman of substance.
Steph is a pastor, and I guess as a pastor you go through different challenges and tests. And from my discussion with her and from sitting down, and because she's my neighbor, she lives right next to me, I was able to visit her during those trying times. And I could say those are huge tests. But she's been able to basically rely back on her faith and say that, listen, her God is a provider and her God is always there and will never leave her alone.
Here's what some of her business partners had to say about Stephanie's willpower.
I met Stephanie through a business friend of ours, one really good guy, and we met on the basis of other business. But as we got to understand her and know what she's all about, I saw that she was very grounded in the Lord. She's very spiritual and she's guided by God. And I thought she might really do us good in one of our companies that we had established, Power Women Recruitment. And we got her on board and she's running things, and we're seeing marvelous things that are happening in our business, a great turnaround.
I need 12 pictures on their website. I need to fill up a little bit.
And Gerald Nyambuya simply had to say working with Stephanie is a bliss, but it's
a lot of work, really. She has a lot of energy, so sometimes it's very difficult to keep up with her, but we do get results.
Having traveled such an uphill road, Stephanie now talks in schools, churches, and homes for women, preaching that women can overcome any obstacles thrown their way. In as much as she was broken, she is definitely unstoppable.
Life is most definitely not always a bed of roses. The law of evolution says that the strongest survive, and it is so true. Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing your story boldly and fearlessly. The team Bophelong salutes you. Until next week, catch us again on the SABC News Channel 404 when we'll be sharing more inspirational stories to you. Goodbye.